Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Are you ready? The ride continues. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, especially silver, is exploding. We can say that safely now without it being clickbait. Yea, though it's not going to be in my title. Let's explore! Yes, indeed. Welcome. And for those of you, I'm getting sort of a little bit of a broader audience, as many of us here in the precious metals community are. And there are some that are very annoyed by my voice. You know, somebody saying, I heard 5 seconds of this voice and I'm out of here. Well, if you would have waited only 10 seconds, I'd have you hooked. Somebody else says that this voice is just an annoying AM radio voice. I'm out of here. May the door hit you very hard in the rear end on the way out. But for the rest of you, welcome, and I appreciate you being here. Hit the thumbs up button if you don't mind while you're here, and actually don't hit it, just tap it gently. We don't like violence here on this channel, but nonetheless, thank you for stopping by here as we discuss the increasing precious metal prices here, especially silver as it's broken the $29 mark. That's right, today, silver is up over 7%. Actually 7.25% as of the recording of this video, as you see here on the screen. It hit a high of $29.18, and its low today was way down to $27.80. What a large move, almost $2. Gold is up almost to $2,070. That's $2,064.30. Up another $23 a day, and platinum has broken the $1,000 barrier on the ask price. Yes, indeed, it sure has. Amazing. Palladium's going up a little bit more too. But what this video is mostly about is silver. And you can see here on the gold ratios, recently discovered this thanks to some of you in the community because I just wasn't looking. But the gold to silver ratio is back near previous normal territory. And previous normal territory for the gold to silver ratio was still pretty darn high, but we can come to a point now where silver is eking its way upwards to catch up with gold in terms of what we would consider a normal gold to silver ratio. What is a normal gold to silver ratio? Well, if you draw that line through the chart of the last 10, 15 years or so, it should really be probably around between 60, 65, maybe between 55 and 65 to 1. So you have a little bit of ways to go, I believe, but in recent years, it's been about 70, 74 to 1. But given where we're at right now, it should be a lot lower than even this. If we keep going the way we're going, then I believe we could get some gains on silver's gold to silver ratio tightening up and give us that confidence of silver as that hedge. And part of the reasons why I'm getting thumbs down on my videos is because I have to throw in a word of caution here, because everybody is so ecstatic about this price movement and saying, hey, we're proving all these silver haters wrong. But and keep in mind, in fact, look at there, we just crossed now. It's now back down to $28.99, but you know, we can still say $29 an ounce because you see this high right here. And more than likely it'll probably creep back up to that level again. But keep in mind that this does not prove the what silver's performance has done. Since 2011, silver has gone down a lot. And you have to keep in mind that that could happen again. And it is this fact and how silver's volatility will play out, not only as we move into this phase of economic stress, where silver is finally back into its role as a wealth preserver, I believe, and as a hedge against economic instability. I believe it always has been. I believe it even when the price was lower, but you had to be very careful with how you purchased it. But silver is one of those metals that is very volatile, and if gold goes down, silver will go down even more. So just keep that in mind. Yes, celebrate, but keep that realistic attitude that silver could move the other direction as quickly as things do recover, and we pray that they do economically. But these numbers really should start to scare us as gold is starting to get closer to a real dollar record highs in terms of inflation adjusted dollar prices. Silver still has a way to go, but nonetheless, we'll see what happens. But keep in mind, folks, as we see these prices go up, doesn't mean they'll stay there. But it is exciting and interesting to see for sure. Here's an article from FX Street that talks a little bit about this, how they've scored fresh highs and the outlook remains solidly bullish, at least for silver. Markets are heavily invested in gold and short of the dollar, so a shakeout could be in the cards. Gold and the price of silver has continued to advance into the $28 area, reaching a high of $28.45. This was hours ago, rallying from $26.79. The greenback just can't catch a break, and there's more downside in the pipeline if markets continue to trade with complacency pertaining to the coronavirus pandemic, geopolitics, and even the macro economy. And it's not just the economy here in the United States, all around the world. The U.S. dollar has been on the receiving end of Fed policy and a relentless recovery in the global equity markets. However, it should be noted that there is a scope for temporary corrections to this, which is where the greenback will come back to the table as the market's preferred and go-to currency at times of risk off. That is essentially kind of piggybacking what I talked about, where silver could potentially go back the other way. And keep in mind, people were definitely miffed when silver was dropping and kept on dropping, and we got down into the teens. And people thought we couldn't get below $20. I was on YouTube then, and we saw it go below $20. And for quite a while, it was there. So it's been quite a journey that we've seen the precious metal take, for sure. We had started to see at least some correctives about the greenback earlier this week, but the amount of bearishness is overwhelmingly pertaining to the Fed and the U.S. economy. The consensus is that the U.S. is not able to grow at a faster rate than the rest of the world, and that has taken value away from the parking idle capital denominated in U.S. rates. The precious metal train keeps on chugging here in italicized text. Continued weakness in the U.S. dollar and real rates remain the main factors supporting the surge higher. That's right. And that will continue to be the case until those two things turn around. And when they do turn around and we see real economic recovery and progress, then even if it's perceived, there's a lot of psychology in this as well. Analysts at TD Securities have noted signals from the Fed that they're weighing the abandoning of preemptive rate moves have also added some juice to the move. While we agree real rate suppression and a massive stimulus on a global scale will see gold move higher, we caution the yellow metal is still currently running hot relative to these observable drivers. So that's where they're saying that silver will take the reins. Indeed, the markets are stretched in terms of positioning in both gold and the U.S. dollar, and that is where there is some scope to the ratio to improve in silver's favor. Probably saw my video about how silver could double based off of some of these factors, and we'll see. And a lot of things could drive it. Markets will be on the lookout for a recovery in U.S. rates or deflationary sentiment going forward. For gold, not as a hedge against such. Meanwhile, so long as the markets assume a recovery in the industry, at least for the near term, silver could find its edge. Silver continues to outperform and remains our precious metal of choice as both precious metal flows and industrial demand improvements combine for strong performance. So it sounds like that, the metal, we could see some bullish activity with silver in either scenario. But given what we've seen in the past and the volatility of the metal, keep in mind there could be a downside. And I say that so that people don't lose faith in silver. Because as I've always said from as long ago, when you look at the long term, and in long term may even have to be beyond 10 years for some folks. And that's where smart dollar cost averaging comes into play that you've heard me talk about before, to where it will preserve your wealth based off of the factors that come into play with that smart dollar cost averaging out there. But Silver could go back down, and I don't want any of you to feel left out or abandoned the metal because you felt like you were got jaded on the price for over promising or over celebrating these highs that could move in another direction. So that's why I'm always throw that side out there, not to rain on anybody's parade, but to give you a sense, a perspective when it comes to silver. I think that's very important out there because at times like this, people say, well, it's going to go to the moon. People say, well, it's going to go to $30. And you know what? It very well could. It looks a lot more likely. We're a lot more bullish in this environment. If I would have said, in fact, 2 years ago, I remember saying that I believe silver is going to close out at $20 by the end of the year. Now, I don't take my predictions very seriously. It really didn't get there. I think it may have gotten to 19, maybe 18, high 18. Never got anywhere near 20. And if I were to make the prediction that silver is going to go to 30 by the end of this year, that would be a pretty safe bet. But I'm not going to go there. I think this year, for me to just say something would be literally like pulling a rabbit out of my hat. I just don't know. It could go either way at this point. I think there is some sentiment that it's going to continue rising. It's got some momentum, but that pullback could be at any time. Some people say the market's overheated. We'll see what it is. There's some statistics and numbers here which pretty much have changed since this article was posted. So let's get back to this screen, a very important one here, showing these numbers. Let's refresh this as now the market is closed in the United States here. We've got a little bit before the Asian markets open here, but this is where the metals have closed out on the day, just a hair underneath $29 for the ask price, but you see here it did get up to $29.18. And gold, 2,064. Platinum has finally reached above $1,000 on the ask. It's still $10 below that, $9.95 on the bid. But big movements again today. Very, very interesting news indeed. And again, gold has broken yet another record. 2050 is what I had yesterday, talking about that in yesterday's video. So exciting, interesting, fascinating, scary. Throw any other adjectives out there you'd like on where the markets are these days. But it is certainly a time to witness and behold history in our very eyes in the precious metals markets, and pretty much with everything else going on in the world today. It is interesting indeed, and literally heading into February of this year, we never would have thought it would be anything like we're seeing it right now. When the coronavirus is barely being talked about as being much of a factor of anything, and now it's thrown us into overdrive in terms of modern monetary theory, Keynesian policies, money printing, all this stuff has just been something to behold, to where we're getting prices for these metals reacting, doing what they do best, and on account of a weakening dollar and a risk economy here. So there you have it. So post your thoughts below. We'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.